Scott, I don't know if you intended it to be muted, but we cannot hear you on Zoom.
How's that? Is that better? Can you hear us, Brandy? Brandy?
Now I'm muted. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're super loud. Say something?
Hello.
Perfect. Now it's perfect. Okay, so all right, let's call the
Are there more people in the? Oh yeah, okay. It
yeah.
looked like it was just. It looked like it was just the two of you, but now I see it panned out. Okay.
Oh wow, cool. Yeah, I think the camera is working in here now, so it should pivot around. Yeah, there.
Okay.
Um,
There it goes.
Snacks for
Okay.
tonight?
All right, so let's call to order. I think we have everybody here who's going to be here tonight. Jay can't make it, he said. So let's do roll call. Loverine Taylor, for purposes of the minutes. Loverine Taylor.
Present and accounted for.
Ronnie Krasinski. Rebecca Flynn.
Here.
Scott Elrod here. Okay. So we have 5 of our 6 members have a quorum. Okay. So let's see. We are going to jump to oral communication. So again, this is for any of us, anybody out there on Zoom land who wants to talk about something that's not on the agenda. I would like to do that just to, because it's not on the agenda, but just to tell you that Rebecca and I attended a meeting on Tuesday. This is, yeah. Yeah. Rebecca and I attended a meeting on Tuesday to, really interesting with Sarah Wernikoff and Craig Taylor from the town council about the possibility that committees could become non-Brown Act entities. And we can't, there's not time to get into it, but we will be talking about that. It sounded really interesting. The operation of the Brown Act applies to any committee where the members of the committee are selected by the town council. So if the means of choosing members is other than having them elected by the entire town council, the committee is not itself required to follow the Brown Act. The goal is not to change the way we do everything. The goal would still be to have notification, transparency, minutes, public attendance, but it would get us out of certain really problematic things, like if one of us is on business travel or otherwise traveling, we would then be able to connect by Zoom, and that would work. And we could be a voting member of the committee and connect by Zoom. You know how it impacts, like, what we're able to do, like, for example, stuff that's more official, like climate action? Yeah, we can still, I mean, I think the basic thing is that we are advisory. There are a few of the committees the town has where there's at least an element of what they do, which is more than advisory, where they actually have decision-making power. And so they probably have to be constituted as Brown Act committees. But we are advisory, and most of the other committees are advisory. And so we can continue to do everything basically, and spend budget, working with town staff. So it sounded like it could be a great simplification. It's probably going to take a number of months to discuss it. And so next time or the time after, we will have a conversation in our committee about how we feel about the different options that were laid out. No, everything's Brown Act presently because of the way all the committees are. But any committee that's been appointed by the town council, which basically is all the committees, is a Brown Act entity. Okay, anything else for open for oral communications? not see a hand, so we will move on. We will go to, well, presentations and announcements. I would just say, I think maybe you all saw that Leslie Field has applied to be a member of our group. She's a really interesting person, very interesting, relevant background. And I sent you her CV. And so the town council needs to vote on her candidacy. And I think that will happen in the next week or two. And so assuming they vote yes, which almost certainly will, then she'll be with us starting with the next meeting. So it's really good. Okay, then moving on. Yeah.
Just a reminder, you guys need to speak into your mics. So whoever was just speaking, I couldn't hear you.
Oh. I forget that, yeah, okay. Anyway, I just got an email from the woman who kind of leads it, that they're looking to get a sustainability group or focus going. And so I thought I'd look into that to see if there's some kind of way that we can liaison with this group. And does everybody know how they work, how CERT works? Okay, well, it's,
Well, is this something that could be on the next agenda
sure,
to talk
I
about?
can do that.
Okay,
I
so
can
I'll
find out about it.
make a
And
note of it. And if you could find out how we might interact with
Yeah,
them, that'd be great.
there are people, volunteers in the community who have been trained in emergency response, and they get called out for emergencies. And we liaison with fire department, it's the sheriff's office, and the first responders. And it's a FEMA sponsored thing. So
Okay,
I just thought they want to start a sustainability aspect to it.
good. All right, with that, we're going to move on to the minutes of February 16th. Are there any suggested corrections or additions to the minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve the minutes as written?
Move that we accept the minutes as
Great. Okay, it's been seconded by Anita. All those in favor? Okay, that was everyone. So, all right, then we move on to business. Welcome back, Brandy. Were you somewhere amazingly fun, or are you somewhere amazingly fun?
No, I'm just in my house. I actually have been at the town the last 2 days, but I'm home now. As you might know, Comcast was out last night, so I'm happy to see the CODA system working again for the hybrid meetings. It was quite a scramble to get that
Yeah.
functional. No, that's a picture of Scotland, but I'm just at home. Um, so you all may know, but the town manager, Jeremy Dennis, tomorrow is his last day. And our town clerk has also resigned, and her last day is on Monday. So a lot of my time in the last, and you may know too that we have a new assistant town manager who is my boss, who came on January 5th when Melvin, the last or assistant town manager, took a position as city manager in East Palo Alto. So there's been a lot of transition in the town, and I am responsible for a lot of onboarding and offboarding as well as IT stuff. So there's been a lot happening. That's just to give you kind of an update about what's happening kind of with the staff. With that said, I have been doing as much as I can in the background. One of the things that we have been challenged with the smart water meters is that Dawn, our main contact at Cal Water, has been um, out a lot since the beginning of the year. And so I asked Jeremy to touch base with her before he left. And it seems like she's said that she's back. And so I will be touching base with her to ask again for answers to the questions that we have around the smart water meters and flume and all of that. I've asked several times, but haven't gotten resolution with that. So now that we know, as of yesterday, that she's back, I'll be pushing for some more answers with that, and also asking her if if there's other folks within Cal Water, or I have asked if there's other folks within Cal Water who are closer to the smart water meter project that we can connect with. So that's the update on smart water meters. I also, let's see, with the climate action plan, we think now that that is going to go to the council either in the summer or early fall because of the transitions that are happening, but I'll keep you posted on that. That doesn't mean that we are not going to be working on it. The intern, Hala, who's been helping me, is on a semester abroad program, so I'm hoping that the timing works out where they can continue to help me and we can make further progress. But that's where the climate action plan is at. And then SB 1383, I'm just continuing on with the regulatory items that are required for that. The green building ordinance or amendments, we now are in, we have entered the kind of phase of that ordinance where we have a project that is going to be required to comply with the ordinance. And so this is kind of where the rubber hits the road, and we are further refining the documents that we have and the checklists and things so that it can be properly implemented. And I'm working with the town's consultant building inspector as well as planning staff to do those refinements. So it is kind of exciting to see, that come to fruition and there to be real interest and engagement within the planning department to comply with that ordinance. So that's where that is. And then the disposable foodware is on hold for now. So if there's any, if there's anything that anyone from the committee would like to reiterate about the smart water meters or have me ask Dawn specifically, feel free to remind me now or in an email. But I've asked like the questions that we have from the committee a couple of times, so I will just be reiterating what I already have unless I hear new information.
Do you know if they're being installed?
I don't. So I've asked like a couple of times, but I'm going to now that Dawn says that she's back, I'm going to resend my questions and hope that I still have leverage, without Jeremy and Mary Ann. But I will be asking that question again. But
And for the green building amendment, what type of refinements are you talking about?
it's not refinements. It's just more like things where we're like, oh, we need to have this kind of checklist to make sure it's enforced, or within the ordinance, we required that that folks who have apply for a permit have a green building professional that makes sure that all of the elements of Cal Green are enforced. And so it's refining what exactly that green building professional looks like. So things like that. So it's not like changing any of the terms of the ordinance. It's more like just like, oh, this is in the ordinance and this is how we need to implement it. And this is the document that we need to implement it.
Are we getting any feedback from that resident who's now having to go through this process?
I don't know, but I will ask the planning staff if we're getting feedback.
You said it, but can you just state again on for the climate action plan, when do you think that might go to the town council now?
I can't say definitively because I've kind of gotten, I will check with with Corey Stalker, who is my new boss, next week and see what they've decided. But it's kind of gone back and forth all over the place, and so I don't want to say a date when they may change their minds. But it actually, I will probably report back on that in a couple of weeks, because in all this transition, the council will be defining specifically what they want staff to focus on, and so I'll let you know after they have that meeting, what if when that's going to be on the priority list and when it will go to council.
Okay.
Can you remind us what the process is again? You go to the council with a request, or?
So Hala, our intern, and I developed a very thought out outreach plan. And so basically when it goes to council, that was to launch an outreach effort to do engagement around the measures that would be within the climate action plan. And since we developed that outreach plan, we have received the draft kind of new menu of measures from the new consultant from the county. And the measures are, I think I would say are much more refined, but what it means is it's going to require more engagement because they're not when you have a measure like make buildings more energy efficient, it's kind of easier to say yes, we want to do that, but it doesn't necessarily. It's more difficult to calculate what the greenhouse gas emissions reductions are going to be for that measure. And so now in this new iteration of how we're looking at the measures, it's like that would be the measure, but then there would be specific actions below that that would have emissions reductions correlated with them. So there's going to need to be more engagement than I anticipated before. But basically, the plan was that we would launch the climate action plan effort at the town council meeting, let them give them a briefing on what it was, what our greenhouse gas emissions inventory was, and how we were going to go forward with developing the measures. And so that's the plan still. But that needs to start. We have been directed that that needs to start with the council. So when the council decides that they are able to focus on that, that's when we will take it to them and move forward.
And so what would the sustainability committee, what would our action be related to that once you get it through town council?
So it's going to be helping refine those measures and actions. The specific things that will result in greenhouse gas emissions reductions.
As well as the outreach, I assume.
Yes, as well as the outreach, yes.
So just as a point of process, I see there are a couple folks on Zoom. And so if at any point, I mean, essentially after each agenda item, we would offer an opportunity for somebody to speak if they want to. Just use the Zoom hand up, and I'll just take a look after each segment of the meeting and see if anybody's hand is up. So I don't see any hands up right now. So I guess with that, we will go on. Thank you, Ben. Oh, sure.
For those who are, for those of us who are kind of new to the committee, or a new member too, it's possible to get a recap or find a recap of the smart water meter program and the status, just the issues, what's being planned, and then any issues and where it stands. If there's any not controversy, but if, you know, at each meeting we've discussed something, and it would just be good. I missed one meeting and then maybe came in just after we started talking about it. So I was just wondering if there's some place that I could go to kind of catch up, as well as maybe our new member. I'll use her as an excuse.
Is that like a conversation offline with you, Brandy, or maybe Rebecca? You're quite, you know, what to do. So it might be just
Just see Rebecca.
Yeah, I
Is
don't
that
think
the-
you're not gonna find anything written with all
Right,
the
okay.
ins and outs of everything
Okay,
that's
yeah.
happened, but I think either Brandy or Rebecca.
All right.
So,
I'll do that.
is that-
Or if it's, yeah, feel free. I mean, we can set up a Zoom meeting if you want to be briefed on it, or if you think it would be helpful, I can spend 5 or 10 minutes at the next meeting, just kind of briefly
That'd be
going over the
good.
background.
Yeah. If we have our new member.
Yeah,
that'd
maybe
be-
we should
might be
do that
helpful.
because I don't know if you were there, but we do have a new member coming in, and so maybe that would be a good thing to do.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Scott?
And I guess I should say that I forgot to say this, but Carrie, our communications person, is going to be helping me with development of several web pages related to smart water meters, the electrification rebates that are available, SB 1383, kind of all of the things that touch on all of these topics. But she's going to help me get going on those web pages, so that there's more information.
Something.
Anita brings up a good point in a way. The history of things. With COVID, you know, we've had sort of an amnesia event in some ways because we don't sort of talk like what we used to when we met in person all the time, the history of where things are. For me right now, I'm struggling with the climate action plan now. How does that differ from the green building ordinance, and how does that and um, we need a history or something. We need a prasis uh, about where things stand or something, or if we could even go back to the old minutes somehow. I don't know. The history, the institutional memory here is for me fading. I've not missed many meetings, but it's like, I saw the date 2030 and I'm thinking, gosh, that's 7 years out. Where are we in the current one? Why is it, I don't know. It's just something that I see, and I see a need here for kind of a history.
I mean, one possibility is to have like a mini retreat where we spend 3 hours and it's really
But with goodies, with treats.
well, yeah. I mean, we actually spend close to 3 hours at these meetings, but
And, a 5-minute synopsis of, why this is important. Is it mandated by the state? Is it just,
well, why don't we, I don't know if we don't really have it on the agenda to talk about, but this is something we can talk
I
about it
think
next
everybody
time.
could stand to, get up to the same speed on things. And with this new person coming on, might be a,
Retreat would be a logical place to do it, where it'd have some person like Brandy or somebody else from the staff give us the overview of what is this thing then, and or Al Sill could talk about Wheelo or whatever. If we wanted to have a meeting where we, took like 3 or 4 segments and really dove into them, we could do that
I think it's a good one.
of these meetings. Yeah, we could do that. Maybe that would be conservation of meetings.
I didn't hear it. Like, I don't know what's happening tonight, but I'm having a really hard time hearing a couple of people talking. What was that last statement about before you said conservation of meetings, Scott?
I just suggested that it could be in a series of these meetings.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to do whatever you guys like. I would suggest too, if you did want to do a retreat like during the day or on, another time, we do have the Buckeye Room, which has a giant whiteboard on wheels. Like there's, it's a little bit more cohesive to, like, I think collaborative discussion than the dais is. But if that is something you wanted to do, or I'm happy to kind of take, on the topics that I could provide that 5-minute history on, I'm happy to do that at meetings too. Either way.
Maybe we could try this. We could test drive this with the smart meter topic next time. And if that
Okay.
works in the context of this meeting, we could, as you're saying, Ronnie, we could just do one of those, each meeting, where we a deep dive on whatever, Wheelo or.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Okay,
SB 1383.
exactly. Whatever that is.
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. No, it's an opportunity.
So I just wanted to ask, so, Jeff Alfs is I guess he's the new council liaison to our committee, and, we haven't seen him, which is fine. I mean, and I'm sure he's super busy as mayor. Have you talked to him about what role he wants to play in interacting with us, either offline or at these meetings? Do you have a sense of that?
I have not spoken to him directly about it, but I'll put it on my to-do list to reach out to him to see,
I mean,
you know.
yeah, and I could reach out to him too, but if
that
he-
might be good. I would suggest that, and I will reach out to him as well.
Okay.
Perhaps, I'm guessing once they kind of have the interim town manager sorted, his bandwidth might expand a little bit, but I think it would be great if you reached out to him, and I will
Okay.
reach out to him as
Yeah, okay, will do. Okay, then we'll move on. Let me just check, to see if there's any hands up. Hands up, no hands up. So we'll move on. We're gonna talk about the public service announcements. I guess we have the immediate topic of the what's happening right now, which is the one you are working on and Jay is working on, right? You two, you have a draft of something you sent me.
I sent you,
haven't-
but it wasn't related to electrification per se.
Okay,
It was just
that's
on
fine.
sustainability. So I
Yeah.
sent you something about hot water recirculating
Oh.
pumps,
okay,
sort of personal experience of what
Yeah.
I've done with mine
yeah.
to reduce energy. I felt right this minute that perhaps pushing electrification
I mean,
might not be the best timing.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't want to argue
I
with
know,
people.
everybody else is doing it.
There's
Go
enough
in the ground.
discussion, yeah. So, I think we'll have to push that one off a bit. I have posted two things, so I don't know if you saw that. I posted
Yes,
your thing
thank
about the primer on heat pumps.
Yeah.
If I could interject real quickly to echo what Brandy said, when you people face each other and talk to each other, none of us can hear you. We can only hear you
Oh.
if you speak into the microphone. Thanks.
Okay, we'll
Okay,
we'll
thank you.
try to do better.
Can you hear? Can you hear?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
that's
better.
perfect.
That's better when you do that.
Okay, so I posted the one that Levy wanted, found about how heat pumps work. That was very informative, I thought. And then I posted another one about the climate clock and encouraging people to come up with a climate resolution. So they can, just another tool that they can use to calculate their greenhouse gas emissions. So that's just sort of a little bit of basic to kind of continue to have the conversation out there all the time about how bad our CO2 levels are getting. So,
Yeah, so I think, I think it makes sense to be a little more free form with these now that we got the thing rolling and it seems like it's working. And, you know, we had said we would do greenhouse gas, drought, or whatever, and rotate among ourselves so that each of us did it, you know, every fifth time or whatever. I think maybe that's too prescribed, and because there are topics that come up, and Rebecca just mentioned a few that have she's sent out. I think also Anita and I were talking, and Anita has some other background and interests arising from the work she's done with the Valley Presbyterian Church related to plastics and reuse and things like that. And those are all perfectly good topics, even though they don't fit necessarily under, you know, greenhouse gas or drought. So maybe we could open it up a bit to be anything related to sustainability, and we can have a running list of who's going to do the next one, but it could just be by virtue of who among us wants to do the next one or has an idea for the next one. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So do you, so you, Rebecca, I guess you're covering, essentially you've covered the month of March, right? So if we thought about the next one after what you're doing, including the thing you sent me, that would be April. So would you want to take on something about plastics and reuse,
Okay.
refilling of bottles and things, or whatever makes sense?
Plastic waste is also, yeah, I mean, there is a consideration with greenhouse
There
gases
is,
because the
sure.
plastic's made from
Yeah,
oil. So,
Sure, yeah,
yeah, I'll write something for May.
yeah.
And get it.
Well, for April.
Okay.
So I don't think we have anything for April. And if we're going to push off the electrification, as you say, and that's what you and Jay were going to each contribute to, right? He was going to work on transportation. So he may still do that. I don't know.
you planning from April then?
No, I don't know. Yeah. Have you talked to him about? No. So if you wanted to do April,
Yeah,
Anita, that would be great.
yeah, I'll
Yeah.
do April.
And then, well, we really only need to know 1 month in advance what we're doing, I think, right? We can just talk about it.
Yeah, and I
Things are-
can always post stuff, you know, if you come across a really interesting article, like, you know, Lorraine did, you know, it's easy enough to kind of post it just to keep, I think the more we post, the more, you know, we're
I think
become
it- I think
relevant.
it's a
and
terrific
attractive.
thing.
Keep it visible, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. All right, let me just look and see if there's any hand up. There is a hand up. There's a hand up. Oh, yes, Judy, please.
Hi. Hi, I just wanted to say on the topic of your posting, it seems to me You should try to be topical when you can. Usually it's not so obvious, but right now in this last few weeks where there's been so much stuff about everybody's electricity out, that it would have been the obvious time to push. For example, you have a library loaner of that, thing. And it was some effort. You made that chart a year or so ago that talked about the various kinds of battery, the generators versus the batteries versus, it would have been perfect time to put that out to the community, in the interest of staying, relevant to the community, of interest to the community, that hitting what's hot right now
Yeah,
might sort of trump, whatever you had in your plan. That's all.
that's great.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can send that out this week.
yeah, let's do that. So we have both the loaner, but we also had something we wrote for the picnic one time, which was the
Emergency
and
preparedness kind of,
issues with generators and,
all your options, from just those lights to those, the battery loaner, just the whole range of options.
Yeah. good, great. Okay, let's move on to reflections on that En-ROADS workshop we had, this climate simulation workshop. So I guess there was a follow-up meeting. Did any of you attend it? I was invited, but Steve Levin scheduled it with, I think with Laura, his co-creator and some, but I don't think any of us were in that, right? No. Okay. So I was invited, but I wasn't able to make it. So yeah, let's just share some thoughts about that workshop, what we thought of it. There doesn't have to be any follow-on, but there could be. And I would then consolidate that and give feedback to Steve in the next day or two. Any thoughts? Attendance was good. Yeah. Yeah.
I thought the workshop went really well. I
Mhm.
mean, more or less. I thought people were engaged, interested.
Mhm.
I think it raised a lot of questions about how things work. I mean, how knock-on effects or unintended consequences from things that, that was the big, I expected it to happen, but, it did. When you tweak one thing, how many other things are impacted. So I
Mhm.
thought that was, eye-opening.
Mhm. Yeah.
When he did a segment on advocacy and whatever, I thought that was good. I mean, it wasn't as, when he did it with us, it seemed more of like a cell to like join that one organization. But
Right.
I like how
Yeah. We
Was a good
we damped
takeaway.
him down. We said, 15 minutes, and include, yeah. So I think I think the point is he did a good job, and he took our feedback and did a good job. I think what I heard from him is that he felt, and I think this is an outcome maybe of those workshops in general, that he feels is that, there's just not a strong enough sort of connecting to action coming out of it. And I think for us, for what the role we play with the town, it was about right. I mean, I don't think we can be, promoting an activist stance of individuals, particularly. I don't know how you feel, but it seemed like it was a good balance to me.
I think the only suggestion I would have for the thing was to somehow provide that Zoom link to register, or well, maybe even have people kind of sign up so that they get the information ahead of time. 'Cause There's
Oh.
a bit of a scramble to find out what that Zoom link was so that we could submit the
In the
the
spreadsheet.
results into the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Those links were not, it wasn't so easy to get hold of them.
Well, he did ask whether he proposed that we do have people register for the workshop, and I didn't go for that because I wanted the maximum number of people to come, and if they didn't register, fine. But that would be one benefit of registering, if you could work that mechanics out in advance.
And maybe you don't require it, but you could just say, please register and so that we can send you preliminary information prior to the meeting or something. You know.
Right.
On the way that he structured it with the breakout groups compared to when we did it as one big group, I guess I wasn't as sure about that. Like maybe it depends on the group. but
Yeah.
When we did it and I was kind of interacting with him and asking questions and stuff like that, might have worked a little bit better, but maybe with a larger group, I'm not sure.
Just a quick reminder to speak into the microphones.
I felt the same way. I felt like I might be missing something that another group is finding interesting. And so we all had different experiences because we're all in very different groups. Laura Steck, for instance, emphasized that there wasn't much about the impacts of food waste on methane creation. And it's a really good point. And it was kind of hard to get there. You could get down to it by going in one of those specialized, downward trails. And even then, it wasn't as obvious as it should be. And so she made that really good point, but nobody else heard it, only our group. And I don't know if the feedback ever reached Steve. Is that his name? Steve. Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know if the feedback actually stuck. If he thought it was, I thought it was important because I do remember a statistic on or the number as far as impact goes. So I agree with you, Ronnie. I think maybe if everybody was in one big group, I don't think we had too many people to be in one group. Plus, a lot of the people there were his people. And we had one in our group. She led. She did the computer stuff. She kind of led it, and she was great. And it was wonderful to have her there. So I'm, as far as the number of people who are outside of his organization, I don't think there were too many to do that as one group.
Right.
We had someone in our group too. That was one of his,
Yeah.
We did as
his
well.
groupies.
Okay. Yeah. So he had like 5
Yeah.
people there
Mm.
to lead the groups, which was great. It moved us along faster.
And maybe it's just an idea of have those, I like the breakout ideas because I think it would be unwieldy to have 20 people kind of interacting, but maybe that portion of it should be shorter and then there's more. I think that kind of got cut off because not every group even ended up being able to share. So
Yeah.
maybe we needed to have a little bit more coming back after the
Yeah.
process to
I mean, it was
discuss
a
it.
pretty grand charter though for a breakout group to be even the length of time it was, to try to come up with, because there's so many knobs to play with and
Yeah.
you want to be able to exercise the model and then come back with a proposal. And so for saving the planet, right? So I thought it was really a stretch to do that in,
Session.
yeah, I mean, the breakouts, maybe they could have been organized along the lines of, okay, you focus on, because it's sort of segmented, you focus on fuels, you focus on this, and figure out the best thing in each of these sub areas that one could possibly do or something, because I thought there were too many levers for a group of 4 or 5 people to exercise in 30 minutes.
Our group, the person with the computer just turned all the knobs up to the maximum. So then we were kind of done and twiddling our fingers
And what number did you come up with after you did all that? Because we tried to minimize the number of levers and we end up with 1.5.
Whoa. Benchmark. Okay, good feedback. I will try to summarize that. And I mean, if you're able to send me the minutes, but I think I've got good notes. So. Okay, next up is the, and you're watching for hands up, Ronnie? That would help if you could do that, yeah. The final planning for the Fire Prevention Resource Day, which I have named improperly. Jennifer Hammer sent me a note. She saw that in our minutes, and that's not what it's called. It's called something else. But it's close. I'll tell you what it's really called.
No, it's on Earth Day, but it's not Earth Day.
It's the Wildfire Preparedness Fair. Okay, so we got to get that right in our minutes this time. Wildfire preparedness fair. So we, to summarize what I believe we agreed we would do, we were going to have the backup power unit that I've reserved. We're going to have the little widgets that we're going to be able to give away. And Brandy,
plug,
did those
right?
smart plugs come in, Brandy?
Yes, they came in, I think yesterday or the day before, and they're sitting on the front counter ready for you guys to pick up at your convenience.
Okay, do you want to pick them up? You want me to pick them up, Ronnie?
When,
I can do it. I mean, so I think the idea was to use those in combination with the backup power unit, right? And have some other appliances. So are you gonna bring like a light bulb, a fan and a toaster, or what, how are we gonna do how are we gonna do the appliance part of this demo?
Can the power unit handle toasters?
Toaster may be pushing it. Yeah, like I think a fan and a light and something else.
You
you
know
want
what's
an
cool is
efficient
a
light or
pump.
inefficient?
Like a water pump, an aquarium pump, you know,
Could do it, yeah, any of the above, just something that shows some action and then we can exercise the Wi-Fi of the smart plugs, right?
Right, I guess I still need to test them.
So should you and I get together and do this with the backup power unit and the smart plugs and just make sure the whole thing works, or?
We can, sure.
Okay, why don't I'll just be in touch with you and we can just get together on a Saturday for an hour or two and see if it works.
Did you end up getting it as boxes of 4 or individual ones?
I think Brandy ordered the boxes of 4.
Yes, box of 4.
So we should just take a look at the instructions. So we might have to make a little copy of it.
Does each smart plug have its own Wi-Fi address? So we're gonna have to, if we're gonna split up the,
No, it's on the
They-
machine.
it's on the IC.
Is she- It's probably just a QR code. for the-
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so why don't, I guess you and I I'll pick them up the next day or two, and then you and I can find a time to
Sure.
play with it. We don't really need the backup power unit though, right? We just need electricity. Well, is it something, do you want to just do it then?
I can do it. I mean,
Because the backup power unit's not going to be available for us to take until the event.
sure. Sorry, so you want me to do what?
So maybe, does it make, can you pick them up at Town Center? Well, anytime during business hours.
Yeah, I mean, these are just plugs. They work like normal
Yeah,
plugs. But
I think Brandy's put them out so that if you just go to the main desk and ask for,
Could you get them maybe so you have them take to the event? Because I also have my own and I can.
you can try it out. Okay, yeah, sure, I'll get them. Okay. I will do that. Okay, and so the backup power units, the smart plugs, the books on climate change. Are you going to bring some books?
can,
You need to speak into the microphone.
I can. I'll see what, I can get out of the library.
So you no longer have books yourself?
All the books I reviewed are in the San Mateo County Library System.
I see.
That's why I did it that way. So everybody can get the books. You don't have to buy the books.
and I have the somewhere we have the cards.
The cards with
Yes,
the,
Well, I gave the cards back to the library. I have a few, not many.
Okay.
I'll see what I can scare up. The book I read specifically, I was telling you about that, called California Burning,
Mhm.
the story of PG&E. Everybody should read that book.
or you do have that book?
No, I turned it back in because there's a waiting list to read it like crazy.
Do we need to buy a few copies so that we have them? We need to have the books at the event, right?
Yeah, let me talk to the guys at the library to see how many copies the library has, to see if I can put on hold maybe to get,
I mean, I think, we have the budget, so what about What
buying a
about-
couple copies.
Yeah, what about buying 4 or 5 copies of a few different books? I mean, it's not that much money, and then we could,
Okay, it's not a paperback, it's a hardback.
Do we need 4 or 5 copies, or we just need
That's
one for
one
display?
yeah.
representative. So Brandy, I think so if Lovey sent you some links on Amazon to 4 or 5 different books, you could order 1 copy each of those for this event. Is that true?
Definitely, yes. And if it's, I mean, if it's easier to send them to someone's house so you don't have to pick them up, let me know. I'm happy
Also,
to do that.
It might make sense to talk to the library because they probably have access to Ingram wholesale for books.
Yeah, I mean, that's just making it more complicated. I mean, getting it on Amazon, I mean, so we need the collateral at the table. So I would say,
Okay, I'll choose 4 books, okay?
that sounds perfect. Yeah,
Okay, and I'll send a list of Brandy from Amazon.
and we'll buy them.
Okay.
We have a nice copy, yeah. So Jennifer wants to know for advertising purposes, what is the theme of our table?
Yeah, well, that's the question on the books. Do they have to link fire and climate change? Is that the 4 book, you want them all that subject? Or just climate change?
What do people think? I think if there's one that links,
Doesn't have.
I think-
He said it doesn't have to.
That's my vote.
I agree. I think if there's one of them that does, that's
Yeah,
all the
well,
better.
this California burning one is, a hot, it's the Wall Street Journal got a Pulitzer Prize, da-di-da for it, and it's
Okay.
very topical about what's happening right now.
So if we had 4 of what you think are the top books on climate change,
And
in-
and one of them
including
has to
that,
do with
including
fire,
that
too.
one, I think we're good then. We spread those out on the table and you can talk about them. So if Jennifer's going to advertise for our table, I'm not sure that's really necessary, but how would we have our table advertised?
Climate change causes extremes in, I want to say climate again. I don't know. Weather.
What is that? You're looking for a sentence or what?
Yeah, she wants to say that, and if you go to the sustainability table, you'll learn blah, ta-da.
Wait, it may be something like that, how resiliency and preparing for emergencies is sustainable. Like I mean, one of the things that fascinates me is that the most sustainable thing is to not have your house burned down so you don't have to rebuild it. So something about like that catchy about, how emergency preparedness is sustainable or resiliency is sustainable or something like that.
I like it. I think it's really good.
I like resiliency is
I like
sustainable.
resiliency too. That's a
But
key
it's
word.
sustain, how to, building resiliency in a sustainable way. Is that what, that's the,
Well, unless we come up with another thing to present, we're not really talking much about building resiliency.
well, the backup power is resiliency. I mean, it's more sustainable to use the batteries than it is a generator, gas generator. So that's one thing. Yeah, I'm not sure there's a
Close,
grand theme for our table.
not
but,
in the short term.
So what if we just say sustainability and resiliency? I mean,
Coping with climate change.
I would, having been the staff liaison to the emergency preparedness committee for years, you're talking to a different audience, or you're trying to engage an audience that you're not speaking necessarily to the choir at this event,
Mhm.
which is awesome. But I think having some catch, or hook to get them to come to your table. I mean, granted, you'll have the power supply, but I mean, do you have one more meeting before the event, correct? Oh, but she wants to advertise it. I don't know.
We do, but I think Jennifer's going to start the advertising pretty soon. So I think we have to come up with this
Yeah,
today.
our meeting is 2 days before. or
Right,
something.
right. So we
I
just
mean,
need.
the
we need-
issue is that we've got our group is more about slightly longer term changes in terms of,
Yes.
reducing your greenhouse gas emissions, going electric, all these things.
Maybe reducing fire risk in the long term or something like that is our theme.
Well, I think we're trying to grapple with reducing excessive climate change so that then we reduce fire risk up for the planet as a whole.
I mean, you do have the backup power, like you're going to be focusing, or you're going to have that and the smart plugs. I mean, you could have something related to the backup power, like Scott was saying, how having the batteries is more sustainable than having generators. I mean, especially in the face of having these power outages, you could some kind of, I don't know, some kind of hook around like the backup power. Like nothing is coming to my mind at this moment, but
Okay.
Solar and batteries instead of generators.
like yeah, like sustainable preparedness or something, or like
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Sustainable
okay. Yeah,
preparedness,
yeah. Thank you, Brandy.
sustainable solutions for wildfire preparedness, something like that.
I think sustainable preparedness is
Yeah.
good. That's good.
Okay.
That's perfect. We've
Yeah,
got it.
just to play a bit of a devil's advocate, I think in terms of wildfire, battery, backup is the least of anybody's worries. So if people are there, they're going to want to know what can they do to make their house less likely to burn down or catch on fire and burn down. So I think the more you can focus on that, like some of this stuff is safer or better.
Removing gas from your house, I'm sure.
That
makes it
could
a lot safer.
might be, that's a really good point. I mean, that's an excellent example. Gas leakage and, all that I think would be a great angle. The battery plus solar, that's a lot more controversial, to be honest. So we can have a longer discussion about whether that's actually environmentally sound. But anything, like the gas versus electricity, anything where you can say, hey, this is a better mousetrap as far as keeping your house and your neighborhood from burning down is totally germane.
Well, that's the solar and the battery versus the generator and the gas, right?
Yeah, well, let's not quite go there. That's a longer discussion, but yes, generators aren't great, but solar and battery it has its own issues. And it only comes into play when the power's out. So.
All right. One possibility is that I digest these inputs and I come back to send something to Jennifer based on what we've talked about, or we could have a little subgroup think about this and come up with something. It does sound like the induction cooktop would be a thing to promote, because that is part of the electrification and removal of gas from the home. Should we do that?
Mhm. Yeah, getting gas out of your home. And that includes your cooktop, your furnace, and your generator.
Okay. Is there somebody, one other person on the committee who would be willing to work with me back and forth over the next few days to figure out what this theme is, how we can articulate it? Okay. That people comfortable with Rebecca and me taking that then and
Yes.
running with it? Okay, good. All right, we will then move on.
Logo, we have to talk about logo.
Oh yeah, yeah, right. So we're gonna have a table banner, and do you want to show the logo? in
I
Zoom?
can, yeah. I'm not on Zoom, but,
Oh. Show the logo.
well, I've actually worked on it some more and I got my
Okay.
graphic design daughter to work on it. So, let me see if I can get on Zoom quick.
Get a beaver.
Oh, shoot, it's not on here.
What's not?
The Zoom coordinates
Zoom
aren't
link.
under your name.
Do you have email?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wait, we're not allowed to do that. Stop.
If you just go to the town website, you can click on the agenda and click on the link.
Brown act.
Really?
Red alert. Well, now we're not supposed to send anything back channel to each other during meetings, so.
He just-
Spring meetings, that's true.
Oh.
All right, we're taking a pause for a moment. We could let, while you're doing that, let's move, I suggest we move on to the next item. Brandy, so
Yes.
the home energy audit, the HEA, capability, having that inside of a green waste insert. Did you happen to have a chance to talk to Green Waste about that, or do you have a view of whether they would be open to it?
So I have completed the first step, which is talking to the town manager about what kind of permission we needed. And so I have a path forward with that. I need to check in with Jeff, our liaison, and determine if, what kind of, if he can just authorize it or if he wants someone else to authorize it. And then once I speak to him, I will reach out to Green Waste.
So you agree this is a good.
Oh, you cut out.
Sorry, yeah, we were just dealing with an audio.
Oh,
thing.
sorry.
Okay. Okay, so you agree this is a good thing to do?
I do. And yes, I agree. It's a good path forward. It's, I know Levy, I was going to say, I know Levy has trepidation about the fostering sustainable behavior book and how many steps there are, but it is, it's something coming from a trusted messenger, which is sometimes is the utility. So no, I think it's an excellent path forward. I just want to make sure that we all follow the proper channels.
Okay, so
So I will be reaching out to Jeff, the liaison, about that and about, what role he wants to have in the committee. And then once I determine what comfort level he has with approving it himself or needing additional approvals, then I'll reach out to Green Waste and see what the timing could be and the procedures are for that.
Okay, thank you. So I assume you just report back to us next time with what you found.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're gonna now jump back to the logo. We had a logo before, which was derived from when this committee was really focused on water, and we've been interacting with Carrie Chin, the communications person for the town. She felt that was too limited as a logo, and the reason we want to figure this out right now is because we want to print a table banner for our table at the fire, whatever the wildfire event. Yes. So take it away, Rebecca.
I don't have to unmute. So this was the old one. This was the Water Conservation Committee logo. And so this is what I'm proposing as a new one. Though ignore that. Those are just other versions. I don't know why that shows up like that. So. Is that what you come with?
I like it.
You get that from
A
the
trivial
plug.
suggestion, I would put a little, I know it's cute, but I would put a little bit of a space between Portola and Valley,
Okay.
since they are two words. Otherwise, I like it. Cool.
'Cause I tried to do something with the sun in there and the water, and it just was making a mess. So I simplified.
Any comments, improvements? Carrie thought we also ought to have a black and white version. Is that easy? And for this table banner, we don't need a black and white version. So you can work on that on the, in the background.
I mean, it would be the same. I would just have to check to see if this shows up well. It's
Yeah.
Black and white.
Okay, last call, this is a big decision. Team, yeah, Lovey?
Blue. The ocean.
There's a lot of water there. That's good.
Hands are blue. Not that that's water, but. Okay, then we're gonna use this for the table banner. If you can email that to me, I'll.
Whip it up.
Judy, Scott, Judy has her hand raised. Just
Oh, yeah. Okay, Judy. Yes, please.
I just wanted to say I love this. It's terrific. It's wonderful. It's everything it should be. And I also want to say once again, it's really hard to hear you, especially Ronnie and Lovey. You need to pull those microphones into where your head lives instead of remembering to reach forward with your chin.
Okay, we will do our best. They will do their best. Okay, great. We have our logo. Let's see. Oh, there was a suggestion from the community, from a community member in regard to electric leaf blower adoption. Oh gosh, I've got to find this. Let's see, one moment. Okay, so I'm going to try to summarize this. No, this is from Bruce McCalley, A-U-L-E-Y. Recently read the article in the Palo Alto Weekly about the blower enforcement officer. And in that article, there's a link to a voucher program. So the question is, we're trying to, in Portola Valley, enforce the requirement that people use electric leaf blowers, and there's pushback from various people using them that they're costly. And I guess the question he's raising is, how could we make homeowners aware of the voucher program? I guess the voucher program is accessible. Are you familiar with the voucher program, Brandy?
yes, it was. It's no longer
Oh,
That's what I
in
thought.
place. It was a limited time incentive when the leaf blower ban first went in place. So it
okay.
doesn't. It's no longer there. There was a pool of money, and it wasn't just a voucher to get a new one. It was like the person would get the voucher when they would get reimbursed for a portion of the purchase of an electric leaf blower upon proof that they had purchased it, but they also had to turn in their gas leaf blower, and then we worked with the company to collect and I believe demolish those so that they didn't go into operation, elsewhere and just pollute somewhere
I
else. So
see. Okay.
it's not something, other cities are now starting their leaf blower bans and looking into incentives, and we actually get a lot of questions from other cities, but we did it kind of early. So I would say though, if that is, the budget cycle is upon us, and if that was something that you guys wanted to do and you thought had value, you could propose it in your budget. But it does require a considerable amount of staff time, that whole process, of the proof of the receipt, getting the reimbursement, collecting the blowers, every time that someone, Public Works would come get it, put it in the courtyard, recycling it. So it's
I
pretty
mean, yeah, I think
intensive.
if it's been done already, I think, and there was a whole program, I don't see our committee taking that on, and given our budget of, total budget for our committee is like 10K. I mean, that would be an expensive deal to do that for a significant number of people. So I think I just need to tell the person that it happened. Portola Valley did it, and the program is closed out.
Would it be helpful for me to find you a link or something to that program so that you and send
Sure.
it to you? Okay.
Yeah, sure, that'd be
I
great.
think he was also concerned about residents not following the ban, the gas leaf blower ban, and resident, not just residents, but also their gardeners. And so I think he was expressing some interest about the compliance and whether or not we need a compliance officer to actually enforce the ban. And I think he wanted some statistics as well to see if there's been complaints or something. Am I confusing it with someone else?
I think so. I think this person's input was entirely about the voucher program. I think in the past, we did have somebody approach us about the compliance and how the town, and I think I put that person in touch with you, Brandy, or with you and Jeremy, if you remember,
I think so, yes.
4 or 5
It's,
months ago. So
yeah, it's admittedly difficult because of the nature of leaf blowing where it happens and then they're gone. It's different than when someone, it's different than enforcement. Say if someone builds a fence, the fence doesn't get in his truck and go away. But yes, I mean, I don't know. I've forgotten now exactly what statistics we had about I'll send you the incentive and then I will try and remind myself if I think we did at some point gather statistics about how many code enforcement notices we had through our PV Connect portal. Um I'll put that on my list to check in with folks to see if I can get that back, to get those stats back. But I think that it kind of
Do you
mm,
remember at all how many people took advantage of the voucher program?
I'll ask Carrie if she has those statistics as well. I think she did have those. So stats on participation and stats on complaints. Is that what code
What do we
enforcement
do?
complaints?
What do we do with complaints when complaints come in?
Um, you know what? I'm not going to. I think that I know, but I
Okay.
will report back in the next meeting just so that I don't speak out of turn.
Okay. Because I was going to
Um,
suggest that, I mean, I don't know if we have a warning system, some sort of soft reminder to the homeowner. It's easy. Yes, the leaf blower is gone by the time somebody would theoretically show up, but the point is it's the homeowner and the homeowner knows who they hired. And so, I mean, you have to start with the homeowner. You can't just chase the lawn service around. The homeowner should tell his or her lawn service that they need to buy or purchase or
Um,
an electric
yeah,
leaf
if I
blower.
can, if I can chirp in a little bit, I think we've been exceedingly generous to try and get people to change. And I think the number of actual homeowners who fire up a gas powered one is like 6. And almost all the rest are gardeners. And if people can pay a gardener to blow off their driveway with a gas powered leaf blower, they can afford to buy them a different one. The problem with complaining is that many times you hear them, but you don't know exactly where they are. We have several of them in our neighborhood.
Thanks.
Dana up at Alpine's reported several up there, but it's hard to hear them. I would like a kind of no holds barred. I mean, we as a town don't do anything as far as I can tell. I doubt anyone has ever been fined for having a gas leaf blower in operation. I'd take a bet on it. So not that this committee has the right to enforce it, but I think you're worried about generators. These 2-cycle gas leaf blowers put out tons more emissions and they're horrible. So there should be a zero tolerance policy, I think.
And they're bad for the health of the person who's actually
Mhm.
using them. Well, I've found it very effective just to go to the guy who's in the neighboring yard and just say, next time if you show up with the gas one, I'm calling the police. And they inevitably show up the next time with an electric one. So
Rebecca.
We'll just call
Ah.
Rebecca.
Rebecca
Come over and
Flynn,
talk to my
top.
neighbor.
Okay. That's, yeah.
Vigilante justice.
All right, so I think we should move on. We have a pretty packed remaining agenda. I don't think.
Can I say something real quick before you move on, Scott? Sorry, I've had my hand
Sure.
up and
Sure. Sure.
I want to stay in the where you are and I don't want to take too much of your time. I think this
Sure.
is a really important piece, you know, the air quality piece is really important. I think there's enough turnover in town that new owners don't always know, or they don't communicate well with the new people that they hire. I think there's a lot of indifference from homeowners because of the pushback they get from their mow and blow guys. I think enforcement has been non-existent, except for Rebecca. I'm wondering, I would like to just raise the issue of now that Palo Alto has an enforcement officer, might we share that? Might we just share that person? Might we get that person for half a day a week? Might we do some sort of a trial? Might we just encourage, you know, something from this committee encouraging the council to be more responsible in this area? Walkers and hikers are your friends. They're people who walk through town. I know a couple who anytime a gas leaf blower is being used by a gardener, they talk to the gardener and they say, do you know? And of course the gardener goes, oh, well, I don't know. And then, you know, and most of them aren't brave enough to then go talk to the homeowner. But I'm wondering about something like a flyer. You guys might put together some sort of a flyer in English and Spanish, and that the Karen walkers could use to put on the trucks of the people using them, that just explain, you know, the name of the ordinance explains it. And that may be a topic that you could take up as ways. There are various ways to handle this other than the homeowner buying the person a whole new one. Where I live, we bought a bunch of the batteries and we each keep a battery. So I keep a battery. So when my person comes, who doesn't blow any of the dirt, by the way, blows only the driveway. He uses my battery. He changes out his battery for mine.
That's a really
And-
good idea.
And it doesn't cost a lot of money. It's an easy thing to do. It's cooperative. It doesn't, you know, shame the guy who can't afford to buy a new mower, et cetera. So, and the only last thing is just at the state level, just now, there's been stuff in the paper about the Bay Area Air Quality Management District newly banning the sale of gas-powered water heaters and furnaces, you know, with a date into the future here sometime. Wonder about, Brandy, do you know if anything's happening at the state level about gas powered blowers? Because it might be good to, you know, for some of us to lean on the Bay Area district, air quality district.
Yes,
That's
I
just
will
a
find
thought.
out. I think that I remembered that I'm confusing myself because I know they just banned them where I live now, and I looked up the state ordinance then, but I will look that up again. I did just find the when are they banning, either in the Bay Area or the state, back mid. I found the flyer from the the incentive program, or it was before the incentive program was created, but it's in English and Spanish. And I think maybe what we could do to kind of respond to what you were saying, Judy, is, oh, there's no chat. Is we could actually, I can tell you what the link is. It's anyway, we could.
Just email it to all of us, maybe.
Yeah,
We'll put it-
after the problem is I have to do it after the meeting, but I will do it after
Of
the meeting.
course, right.
It's just portolavalley.net leaf blower flyer, but I will email it after the meeting. But it's a flyer that we created that's in English and Spanish, and I think that if we just updated it instead of at the bottom where it says "Stay tuned, spread the word," if we updated it to say to have the information about the ordinance, that is something then that folks could print out and hand out. And I think we would take the color off of it, because if you printed that would
Right, right.
you know.
And it might be a valuable thing to do as one of your tip of the month kind of things too. But the important thing
Yeah.
about what the air quality board did was they banned the sale, you know. And we can't ban the sale, obviously, and
No.
it would be inappropriate for us to try, but it would be interesting to see if we could get them. I'll write them a letter, see if anybody answers me.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, the tip of the month idea is great, and we could get that out to the whole town, and then people could print it themselves and use it.
Yes. I'll if that's
Especially because
something
you already have it.
we already have it. It just needs to be, I mean, as far as I can see, it's just basically the bottom paragraph that says "Stay tuned, spread the word" would just need to be updated to say, something about the ban, and then we would just translate that into Spanish as well, and then take the color off of the flyer so that folks can print it easily. But I'll talk to Carrie about that next week and see what we can do.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like there's a whole section on the website on that incentive, so that might need to be,
There's a town news item, and then there's actually where is it? I copied down all the URLs so I could send them out
Okay.
after the meeting, but there's also
yeah, it says it's finished. The trade-in program is
yeah.
now finished, yeah. But it has a whole bunch of information.
Yep.
Leaf blower and electric dash leaf dash blower dash incentive.
Okay, I'd like to suggest we move on. So the next topic is the library loaner program, and we have, thanks to Anita, we have the Lomi composter right here in the room with us. And so tell us about the Lomi composter. And then also we have Jay's assessment of the life cycle impact, which I can share in a minute.
Oh, you do have it. Good. Here it says replacement heat pump water heater on the item. So did you mean for that to be the Lomi?
Oh, no, I mean, you brought the Lomi,
I
right?
did.
Yeah, so I was thinking in lieu of Jay talking about the life cycle impact, you could fill us in. Yeah,
Am I gonna be allowed to do it without being at the microphone?
can she do it without being at the microphone? I think we're gonna have to, yeah. So we're taking a brief interlude to look at the Lomi composter.
So this is part of us being disturbed that green waste doesn't seem, we can't really figure out how green waste takes the organics in their stream and really does, makes compost out of them or does anything sustainable with them. That they just go somewhere and produce methane. So we've been seeing these home composters advertised on, wherever, Facebook, wherever, and there's about 3 or 4 or 5 of them. We picked the Lomi, maybe because it was the first one we saw and it looked like it was nice and small. It's about the size of a bread box. And so I've had it at home since Christmas, and we use it about 3 times a week. And it produces compost out of our household organics.
Scott, there is a portable microphone. Like you could just take one of the ones at the that green table, and the directions I think are on that podium right there to turn it on. But I feel bad. It's just, well, I guess it's David, Judy, and I. But
Check, testing.
yeah,
Oh,
there you go. Yay.
so now you can sing. You can do a little Frank Sinatra.
I can do a dance because I'm standing. Okay, so I don't think there's I don't think there's any way to show the contents in the camera.
Well, yes, there is, if you want to. Here, I'll bring my Zoom thing.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay, put it on top. So inside is just, eggshells, banana peels, broccoli stems. I think that's all for this week. piece of bread in there. And then on top, we throw our coffee grounds and the coffee filters.
Infomercial. It's like an infomercial.
I don't have the white clothes on. I left the coffee grounds out until now because it just covers everything up. So it makes a little bit of a mess. They say, and I haven't done that. This will be the first time I've done this part. They give you these little tablets that they say make for better compost for your garden. So if you really want to use the resulting compost in the garden, the things you have to do are not put the compostable cutlery in and not put meat in. That's what they suggest. So if you want to run loads with meat or with just the compostable stuff, there's a list of Lomi approved compostable cutlery and bags, you know, the trash bags and so forth. You can put those in, but they say don't necessarily put those in the garden. They just don't recommend it. Just okay, and that's pretty much it. You put the lid on. There's 3 modes, and the mode that produces the healthiest compost for the garden is the one that takes like, I think they said 10 to 14 hours or something, maybe even 20 hours. I mean, that's a long process. There's an express mode that takes 4 to 6 hours, and that's the fastest. And that will reduce the compostable cutlery and the other stuff, meat and so forth. So change modes. Okay, so now it's in the mode that's going to make the compost for the garden, and you just turn it on, and that's the noise it makes. So what I really wanted to show you was the noise, which is not a lot. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want to sleep next to it, but we have ours in our garage just simply for space. They don't necessarily recommend that. When I chatted with them to ask them another question, and I said, "Oh, we have ours in the garage," they said, "Oh, we don't think it should be in the garage," but they don't know where we live in California and the garage doesn't freeze. So I just kind of ignored them. That's where our space is, and it does keep the noise away from the house, the kitchen. The other thing is it produces a little bit of heat. So in the summertime, it'll be good to have it in the garage. And now it might be nice to have it inside the house. This is what it produces. So this is one load. I don't know what was in it, but that's about how much it produces after a bucket full of compostables. This is the compost. That's what you get out. That will be in about 20 hours. It'll be this. So it's a lot faster than, and I was one of those that was always wanting to compost and have a big compost pile and a pitchfork, and it was just never going to happen. So we like ours. Like I said, there are about three other models that I see advertised. I assume those work just as well. I don't know the differences. I haven't done any research on them, but this is about $500. And then there's a recurring cost of filters. Charcoal filter. It's not cheap, yeah, but it's if you really want to do something about. Your camera? Oh, it's off. Okay. Oh, it's all right. This isn't very exciting. It's just showing you the bags that the charcoal comes in. So you just refill this. I think there is a camera.
Up there.
I'll hold it up. It's about
When
this
you,
much
when you
charcoal.
use the portable, when you use the portable microphone, the cameras automatically switch to the podium. So we're just looking at the podium and the empty
Oh.
chairs.
See? I could be standing there. So
Yeah.
okay, so this is a bag of the, oh yeah, I see me. This is a bag of the charcoal that goes into 2 filters that are in the Lomi. And we've had it interrupted twice with power outages, and it seems to work. It seems to finish up just fine when the power comes back on. So that's what's going to happen tonight. I'm going to unplug it.
Is the charcoal for the smell or is it for some
It's
sort of?
it's how
purpose?
it works,
Oh.
and I can't tell you technically how it works. I'm not that. Yeah, I haven't done that much reading on it, and I'm not sure they really tell you. Anyway.
Thank you. Okay, and then Jay did a sort of first order assessment of the life cycle impact. There was somebody who on PV Forum, when we were discussing this, raised a question about whether this was just a completely terrible energy hog, you know, using a kilowatt of power or whatever. And so Jay looked into that. All of this is leading to the question of whether we might want to buy one of these and have it as a loaner in the library. So let me just show you Jay's assessment. Okay, so you should be able to see this. So he says, they've been clearly asked to address this question. It looks like they've done so. They've had a firm assess the carbon footprint of the product in various scenarios for its use. First, its estimated cost. Basically, the manufacturer of the Lomi device costs 68 kilograms of CO2 in manufacturing, but the company purchases offsets for that. You know, you have to, assuming you buy into the idea you can use offsets, they do that. Then they calculate the carbon savings based on how you use it, what you do with it, what you do with the compost, and how your energy is produced. And they even calculate a scenario where the company didn't buy offsets for the manufacturer. By their calculations, it's the net result is all positive, with the machine offsetting its own manufacturer in a handful of months. So that sounds positive. So that's what Jay found. I will send this email to everybody. I couldn't do that before the meeting because of the Brown Act stuff. Because I think Ronnie, you and I were part of this, or Rebecca and I were. He thought about whether he could do the estimate himself, but it really depends upon a lot of variables. His net conclusion is the company has its heart in the right place and they've done their diligence, and that we should feel confident recommending it to people. So it is something we could consider for the loaner program. Seems pretty interesting. So we've got a number of things to talk about potentially for the loaner program. Let's see, I guess I should stop sharing. That was one. Another, the idea of, well, here's, this directly addresses one of our past issues, the electric leaf blower or weed whacker, making, I don't know about that, but making that, somebody who suggested that, somebody suggested making that available as a loaner at the library. Seems like people understand how they work, though. It's not like, it's sort of like if you've decided you're going to go electric, it's not like you need to get one to try it out.
Sometimes the gardeners resist because they say they don't blow the leaves as hard as the gas ones. They're just not as powerful.
Yeah.
So if somebody could borrow one and, for them to try, that's the only reason I can, it's the only reason I can think of that we'd want one.
So I missed one. I missed the one, Ronnie, you were going to talk about the idea that you had last time of something for kids that's oriented toward kids. You want to do that?
Sure. I can. maybe can you come back to me if you have other?
The what?
I'm trying to share my screen, but it.
I can talk about the heat pump.
Oh, yeah. So, and then, yeah, Anita.
So we thought about possibility of stocking one loaner heat pump water heater that people could check out if their water heater died and they were, there's a thought there might be required time to transition to heat pump, and people would just not do that and they'd buy an old gas one because they wanted hot water quickly. I talked to Ruben at Sunwork a lot by email, and he really feels strongly that these are becoming so ubiquitous. They're in stock, he says, all the time at Home Depot, and there's a 120 version, Ream version that he recommends. He said they work great, and so you don't need to get the 220, the 240 installed in your house before you put this one in. The 120 in, if the 120 is sufficient. So he did not recommend buying one and loaning it out, because he also said the technology is changing. So we'd have one that would get old quickly. So I don't think that would be a good idea. But I learned a lot that I've since forgotten about the new technology. But the one thing that stuck was the 120 version is a really good version. They say, I know somebody who has one, he loves it. And they're easy to get and quickly installed.
So the idea is you could get it, have a plumber install it, and then you could plug it in with an extension cord until you had somebody run power.
Well, it's 120, so it would go in the same, the current ones have electricity, right? Yeah.
Generally not.
No,
Electric ones.
like-
do.
No, oh,
Gas ones
I see.
typically
The
don't.
gas ones don't plug in anywhere?
I
I
don't
don't
think they have any- I don't think
I don't
gas
even
water
know.
heaters plug in at all, do they?
I think they do, because mine has a little
Has an
electric
ignition?
monitor.
Oh, it does,
and has
okay.
electric ignition.
They would
Okay.
just plug right in. So it would be more construction, it would be the space to make sure you had it in, where you wanted it. But he said, talking to one of the, I think more useful might be to have a list of contractors available who could, like his company, and there are several others who numbers you can call and people's names you could ask for to
Bayren.
either ahead of time or in an emergency when you lose your hot water heater, because that's exactly what we would do. We would call the old guy and he'd come out and switch it with another gas one. And, now we wouldn't do it, but a year ago, that's what we would do.
Bayren has a list of
Bayren, yeah.
contractors, and if you go through them, you'll have the option of getting a discount, getting a
Yeah,
rebate.
yeah.
So it's important to use
Okay.
somebody in that
Yeah.
list.
Okay, great. So you want to,
Yeah, that's looking. So I ran across this before. So I don't know if I have a proposal exactly, but I'll just show you kind of what I found. So I was looking around at electricity monitors and/or sustainability stuff for kids. And I ran across the main website here that they have these electricity monitor loaners. And then, it's basically like the kilowatt style. You plug it in and then plug your devices into this outlet here. And then so down here, I guess along with the rental, they have this kids electricity monitor worksheet, which is this. And so it looks like a front and back sheet. So this side is the instructions, and it's basically fighting phantom loads energy worksheet. And I don't think this is super engaging, but so basically there's this table for kids to fill out to go around, check your television, cable box, DVD, VCR, phone charger, etc. Basically just measure the power and the time and calculate the energy and the cost. You want to total that up and then you're done, I guess. And I actually reached out to them and asked them a couple questions. So and they replied, which is nice. So I said, I wonder if you have any insights you could share about the program based on your experience. They said the program needs continual marketing to be successful. If patrons don't know about if patrons don't know the monitors are available, they won't borrow them. And then I said, do you know if many kids have borrowed the monitor and completed the worksheet? And they didn't think that the libraries kept track if the borrowers are kids or not. Also this program, it's basically run by the state of Maine, I think, and then they, will supply it out to the libraries. So it's like a pretty broad program. And then I asked if they did any other outreach to involve kids in sustainability, and they mentioned in 2009, Efficiency Maine worked with Maine Math and Science Alliance and drafted free energy curriculum for 4th to 6th grades and trained educators. And then due to funding, they didn't continue this. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if like this type of thing is the best way to involve kids in sustainability. I also poked around, the library, they also do, I think almost every day they have like activities after school for kids. And I saw that last summer they had this, it says throughout July, our middle scholars summer program is hosting workshops in all of our communities to teach tweens to upcycle old materials and be mindful of the environmental impact of consumer culture. And so this was, San Mateo County sustainability. And I couldn't actually find any more details about what they ran last summer. I don't know if anyone else knows. And then also there's Office of Sustainability San Mateo that has these other youth programs, whatever, empowering students to be local leader in climate action, some programs. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I feel like these other things are probably better ways of getting kids engaged in sustainability. But the library loaner program is something easy.
Well, we could certainly be adding items in our tips about these programs. So,
And yeah, so we could try to reach out, see if the library is going to do something like this again. And we could help in any way, or just advertise.
was it the Portola Valley Library or the?
So this is San Mateo County, and I think they did it across all the libraries. Generally do these programs across all the libraries.
And it was a summer thing,
It
or?
was in the summer. Yeah, I think when I clicked on these links, they don't.
Do you want to, I mean, so we're in close contact with Garrett by virtue of having created the loaner program here at the library. We could ask him if there's
Sure.
any.
Yeah, either if they did in the past or if they have plans in the future.
You want to do that? You want to engage him? I can send you his email and.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's something we could be promoting on TV Forum if it's not already being done. Sure.
And the library used to have a kit for people to take home to, with kilowatts and things like that to check I don't know what happened to that kit.
Yeah, they used to have the kilowatt thing. You could check it
Old
out.
nice little kit with all sorts of things,
Probably still there as far as anyone knows.
but it wasn't listed on the,
Oh, it's not listed.
not listed.
It's
on
not
the
listed. I
equipment,
think
the
Garrett
equipment.
wasn't sure what happened to it. Okay, so I guess we've now talked about the notion of something for kids. We decided that the loaner water heater doesn't make sense. It sounds like the Lomi is a yes. Is it a yes? Do we want to do that? Do we want to have that be the next thing that we purchase and make available through the library? Yeah.
Do we have the budget?
Yeah, we do. I mean, we've always asked for money to purchase such things, and I don't think we're anywhere near spending our budget. So I don't know, does it cross the threshold of what people think we should do?
I would borrow it. I mean, I would borrow it.
I would
check it
too.
out,
Yeah, I'd be curious. So
Is 1 week adequate though to test it out, or would they need
Yeah,
2 weeks?
I think 1 week is a good amount of time. You'd run about 2 or 3 loads, which depends on how many people are in your house. We have 2. So, like I said, maybe 2 a week, possibly even 3, because coffee grounds and the filters, those really, add up. Yeah.
So do you want to be the person to work with Brandy to buy one?
Sure.
Is that a thing on Amazon or is that something you
I
get?
bought mine through Loan.me.
Okay.
When I bought mine, there was a sale, so it was like $50 off that 500, but you had to, and you got a extra starter kit of filter of charcoal.
Mhm.
But then I found that I had also signed up to get the charcoal delivered to me every, it must be 3 months because it's been 3 months. And I don't need it because they gave me an extra set. So turns out you can't turn that off. So I don't think that'll be an issue because probably that'll stop at some point and we'll just have the charcoal and need to reorder whenever we run out. But yeah, I can do that.
Okay. Brandy, you have your hand up?
Yes, I just thought maybe it was worth pre-vetting this with the library in advance because it's more of a
Hmm. A waste thing that might have food scraps in it.
yeah, like if somebody brings it back.
Oh, yeah, you do have to rinse out the bucket every time you use it. And so, yeah, you have
Yeah.
to depend on the people cleaning it, but it's just the bucket. That's,
I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe the first step one is to for
Talk to
you
Garrett.
talk to Garrett about it and maybe even take it over and show him. And he had asked whether we intended to have more loaner items, as in maybe where are we going to be putting all these things? And I said I didn't anticipate any more, but that was before the Lomi came along.
Yeah.
Or I didn't know if there would be. So
yeah.
I think it'd be good to check it out with him and talk about.
Is he typically in the library? I haven't been there in a while.
He's there certain days. So I think you'd have to just coordinate a time to
Okay.
go in and show it to him and talk about it.
Mhm,
Yeah, the care and feeding of the Lomi would be the thing, I guess.
mhm.
Scott?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm gonna have to.
Okay. All right.
Return home.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Ronnie. Bye. See you. So we still have a quorum. Ronnie is leaving. Okay, so you'll engage
I'll do
him
that.
about it. And then there's a set of things that we've been doing, like creating a little manual that just tells people how to use it and includes whatever manual came with it, plus our instructions about, why it's interesting, how to play with it. Okay, great. Well, it is 8:45, so I think we're very close to being done. Discussing current observations about green waste trash collection. I think we need to wait for Jay because Jay was really watching them and taking videos and trying to understand what their practice is. So we'll hear about that next time.
Would it be okay if I reached, this is Brandy, sorry. I'm so curious about the comments that Anita made, but also this item on there. I think it might be worth revisiting how green waste processes the waste. I don't know, it is unique, but I'm obviously if there are issues that are happening that are
Yeah, I think
not in compliance with our contract, that'd be good to know, but I also.
Yeah, I think that there's the theory and then the practice, and I guess
Yeah.
I guess there are those of us who have some concerns about the practice related to composting and whether that really works. Anita, and then Jay has observed them not doing what they have said they would be doing at his home, and he was trying to gather more data on that, including videotaping what happens. So are you suggesting, this is a good topic. You agree? It's a good topic for us to discuss.
I do. I think that I do agree that it's a good topic to discuss, but if it's okay with you, may I reach out to Anita and Jay offline to just better understand what the issue is?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, sure. Why don't you do that, and then collectively, you can come back next time and we can decide whether we want to have a public discussion of more, or whether you can resolve it offline or what. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, and it also, I mean, it also, I don't know if, you know, with how folks are feeling about it now, but there has been pre-pandemic opportunity to actually go get a tour
Right, and they
of
keep,
the,
now they tell me that they can't give tours, and that's really what we've been wanting for a long time, and it still can't.
Because of
Yeah,
COVID?
COVID, I guess, or they just
Okay.
haven't set it back, or they don't have people to lead the.
I
Yeah,
tour.
will, I will reach out. So I work with my boss now to manage the Green Waste franchise agreement. So I'll reach out to them to ask about the tour when they plan on it. I mean,
That would be great.
that would be great. Yeah, I think that would, to be there,
Yes.
seeing it, and then ask all these, I think we've got lots of questions and.
I think
and,
part of the issue is the trucks. It's unclear when they dump the trash out of the trash can into the truck, which compartments it's actually going into. And I think from a distance, it looks like it's all going into the same compartment, when in fact it may very well be going into a front compartment versus the side versus the back. So it's
Yes.
unclear.
this is a common concern. It's not to say that it's not valid, but there are like some of the ways, you know, the trucks, depending on which truck it is, like sometimes it's going into the same truck but into different sides. So anyway, it's good, you know, it's good
Yeah.
for us to keep them on track, but also good for us to understand how the process works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think the last item, if it may be a simple one, and I would suggest we take it on. If it's simple, we can deal with it now. If it's not simple, we'll have to have a longer discussion later. I got an email from Lucy Neely, who, I don't know whether she's now the head of the Race and Equity Committee, but as you know, there's now a statement about the lands that appears on all the agendas and things. And so her committee is interested in getting input on that statement, and whether our committee feels that the statement as written is a good one or ought to be modified. And so that's really the question. And I don't know whether that's an easy thing or
I thought it was fine.
I thought it was fine, but I have a little confusion about what the word commodification of land. I think there would be simpler ways of saying it. Commodification of land.
Commodification of land.
The word is a little too complex in my mind.
Okay. I felt the statement was fine as written.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. We have had this discussion at Valley Church, and we wanted the church to adopt this and put it on their, you know, at the bottom of their minutes, and start their meetings with reading the acknowledgement, because the Earth Care team does this. And the feedback, which was really pushback from session, was, why is there something we should be doing? And we viewed it as acknowledging, just making people aware, but they had a different mindset. So no, I am fine with this, and this is what we do.
All right. So with the one caveat that word there might be some other word or phrase that would make that easier to understand. We, as a committee, we feel it's reasonable.
Yeah.
Then it was a simple thing. Okay. Okay. Well, that brings us to the end of the agenda. In
But wait
terms
a
of-
minute. You're not-
Wheelo?
You missed Wheelo.
I was going to punt on Wheelo for the moment, but
Okay.
yes, you caught me punting.
May I just make one bureaucratic statement about that? If the committee, since I think I missed something last meeting, if the committee does decide to they would like to conduct a survey, the survey questions have to be approved by the town council in advance of conducting said survey.
Sure. Yeah, this was really to just discuss whether we thought a survey would be helpful, right? Step one would be to just talk about whether it makes sense to consider it. But yeah, obviously the town would have to weigh in on what's in, we can't just send out a survey about an ordinance on our own, right?
Right, but I thought the ADU survey was really good. It, it advertised whoever did the survey, who composed it, yeah. It got input, and it got input in a positive way. I mean, the whole idea of the ADUs or the housing thing has been a bit explosive. And I thought, I was with a little trepidation. I thought, oh, how is this going to work? But I thought, now I don't know, I wasn't intimate in it. I just took the survey. But how did it work out? Did you get a lot of good information?
I think we did get a lot of good information. We had a pretty good turnout. About 35% of the community filled out the survey.
And how do you measure that in terms of 35% of households?
Mhm.
Okay.
It was a lot of work,
Was it?
enormous amount of work. We had a ton of meetings. Every single word on that survey was hacked to death to figure out what the best way of saying something.
Well, you did a good job. I
Well,
thought.
and then in retrospect, looking at it, as I was the one who was doing a lot of the analysis along with Ronnie, we probably should have worded the questions even differently and separated stuff out. I mean, there was one group in the committee or the group that really was trying to focus on keeping it down to only 10 questions. And in retrospect, when we had to analyze the data, having only 10 questions meant that things were combined into one question with a bunch of different answers, which made it really hard to,
Granular, you'd like to be more
really made it
granular.
hard to analyze. So 2020 hindsight is such that it would have been better to have broken up and had more questions.
So
But
Yeah, I wonder though, I mean, so understanding people's intention about ADUs in order to try to project forward, what might that look like? That's one thing. Asking questions in a survey though about an ordinance and changes to an ordinance, that seems a lot trickier to, and I don't know whether that's, Brandy, is that a possible approach that the town council would agree to take? Or do you think a survey about a potential ordinance change is not in the cards?
This one is tricky because it's a state mandated ordinance. Like there are things, there's like a more restrictive overlay to it, but I could see it getting, it depends on what aspects of it you
you
were
really need to
intending to.
define your goals.
Yeah, because it's like a lot of the things, we do not have a choice about them being in there because they're mandated by the state.
And it's sort of the what do we call that? The up zoning? No, what's the term when you reach codes, sort of the reach, Portola Valley
Yeah.
only has flexibility with adding stuff to the code. And I almost feel that even advertising that to the community excessively, there's sort of a huge group that hates regulations, and any idea of excess regulations might set them off as opposed to, getting useful information back about what people would be willing to accept.
Well, that's the point is I kind of, yes, I don't think we should phrase it about, okay, we're going to look into modifying the WELO ordinance, but and this is obviously, it's not going to fly soon because of the deluge. You're not going to get eyeballs on drought right now. So this is going to be more in the future. But, to engage people more in how to attack the drought at a personal level. Okay, how are you going to attack climate change at the personal level? What are you going to do? You're going to, throw away your paper straws and you're going to get stainless steel ones and this and that. I just thought getting people engaged in what can I do to my property? What can I do to my lifestyle? But mainly, what can I do to my property because it's landscape to mitigate the effects of drought. And this thing that I'm going to that you sent out, the water thing, the guy from UC Davis,
Right.
who's going to talk about how you can, keep water on your property more, that kind of stuff. Get ideas and get those kind of ideas out to the public And how
I-
do you feel about this? Would you be willing to make a rain garden? Could you do that? You know, I just,
I think I can imagine a survey that asks people about their current practices and what they would like to have support for doing, what they would imagine doing. I'm not sure that is a WELO ordinance related survey, though. There might
No.
be a water,
Water
water
conservation
use,
kinda
water
thing.
conservation
Right.
survey.
but we could use that then,
You could use the
the
inputs, the
data,
result
the
from that.
ideas, I was amazed by, I'm always amazed on the forum when you get these big strings of people weighing in and the other ideas that people have,
Mhm.
you know, it just amazes me. There's some really creative ideas. People have creative ideas out there. And when you put them out in a questionnaire or to get them back, it gets you thinking about, well, could I do that? Or is this, do I really need to have a 36-inch PVC pipe shunting water through my property and it never stops on my property? It's the other guy's problem. Have you thought about that? And these recent deluges, I mean, everybody now, look around at the people with sandbags around their houses. They are suddenly, water is, a lot of water. They didn't have it in their view before. And now, what am I going to do with this? You can't live with five, the new neighbor has, 5 stacks of sandbags
Mhm.
that he didn't, it's a new house. And it was a surprise to them. Yeah.
Can you visualize what you would want to go into this survey?
Well, not really. Yes and no. I mean,
Because
I'd like to,
I think if you were asking people specific questions about, we're doing a WELO update or we're going to add some requirements for homeowners, I'm just not sure that's going to be a very positive.
no, I don't
direction.
see it that way.
So it's
I
not,
see it the way of, I mean, when we were the Water Conservation Committee and, it was slow it, sink it, save it.
Mhm.
And that idea with this recent, Pineapple Expresses, 10 of them we've had. I mean, my rain gauge is, I've dumped it, I don't know, I've lost count. I mean, so now people, I think this is kind of a right time in a way to get to thinking about how can I keep water on my property so that I don't need to use it at other times. Can I store it? Are there storage facility ways? Are there ways to modify the lie of the land? I just think that kind of thing, getting out there, and it does 2 things. It gets new ideas in circulation and it gets people thinking about what they can do.
do you think you could provide a framework for what might be in this survey, like the categories of questions that would go into, that you think would be useful to?
Sure, in rough thing.
I think we
yeah.
need something like that to be able to look at it and, then for Brandy to help us see whether, oh yeah, this is a pretty straightforward thing that we could design and send out, or this is a really hairy thing because of the way it interacts with ordinances and law. So
Yeah, well, I don't want it to go that far, I guess. I think it's a way to, yes, it started out when we started thinking about modifying WELO to the egregious ways that it was being gained. But I think with this current deluge of rain and the thought that 99% of this pure, clear water is now in the ocean,
Mhm.
that's the guy who's speaking at the Waterpalooza
Right.
thing. He's saying, we need more dams now. We need to stop this water leaving us. How can we do it? Well, how can we do it as a homeowner?
okay, I think we're going to have to wrap up the meeting, but if you could
Sure,
come with, and maybe work.
but not right away.
Not
Let's-
right away, but I think we need to see sort of a picture of what the questions look like, the type of questions.
Yeah,
The
sure.
categories of questions, the type of questions that you think would be valuable. And I can work with you on that, and Rebecca probably would do that too, but I think we need that to.
I just think, the idea of a survey, that ADU, it really resonated with me that here's a way to take the community, because the community, some of the community, a lot of the community maybe feels that their voices aren't being heard on things.
Mm.
And a survey is sort of an innocuous way, or it's a no stress, or I'm not using the right words, but it's a way to get people's ideas. They can put their ideas out there without being shot down or being questioned or grilled or whatever. We want your ideas. How do you think we can save fresh water when we've got this abundance of fresh water?
I mean, we could certainly
Okay.
ask people what their experiences have been in terms of dealing with the deluge, as well as dealing with what problems they've had dealing with drought. And then what solutions they've used to deal with those problems, and then where could they use help from the sustainability committee in the town to, solve some of the problems they have.
Okay, I think we probably need to come to a close. Next time, I think the council liaison, so in our case, Jeff Alps, I think there's a request that they be given maybe 15 minutes to talk about the council priorities at the next meeting. So council's working on their own priorities, and so there was the idea of engaging each of the committees by having that representative talk about it. So that'll be on the agenda. Anything else need to go on the agenda that's not sort of part of what we've already been talking about? All right, is there a motion to close today's meeting?
So moved.
For a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned.
Oh,
Thanks.
4 minutes past.
These all go off.